the real difference here, John, is the fact that he's a professional mixed martial arts fighter. CM Punk is a guy who's been training for 2 or 3 years and says, hey, I want to try a fight. And there's a big difference in that. A guy who just decides to pick it up and say, hey, let me try my hand at this, while they should be applauded and while they should be respected, it's just a different level. I'm not going to go and be like, hey, let me jump into this NFL game and show you what I got, guys.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. And for CM Punk to do that, I thought was admirable. But he didn't land a punch. He didn't show that he had any kind of ability to hang with someone even close to the level of Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall, that's his third fight. That's his third fight as a professional. This isn't a guy who's had 10 or 11 fights, who's ranked in the middleweight division or the welterweight division. This is a guy who's just getting started. And what really kind of melted my brain was seeing Mickey Gall with his brown belt, drilling moves and all these things, and then you see CM Punk get a stripe on his white belt. It's just the vast difference. I mean, it was too much. And for someone to go in there and make it competitive, for someone to go in there and get a win after only 2 or 3 years of training in mixed martial arts, it is nearly impossible for anyone. I don't care what kind of athlete it is. And CM Punk, unfortunately, isn't this insane athlete. He's not this Usain Bolt. He's not this Brock Lesnar who can go in and do that. And he still didn't have a wrestling background, a taekwondo background, any kind of martial arts or combat sports background that he could call on to get prepared for this fight.
Right, and I know some parallels have been drawn between CM Punk and James Toney. Toney came with it, 50 plus, if not more than that, professional boxing bouts. And Toney never fought in the UFC again. And I think that's the big question for CM Punk. Is he going to fight in the UFC again? He has certainly expressed interest in fulfilling what is a multi-fight contract, but he has also said, I wouldn't be totally caught off guard if UFC President Dana White were to cut me on the heels of that performance. So because I have nothing better to do, Kenny, I went through the entire UFC welterweight division this morning. And I'm really racking my brain to find a guy there that I think CM Punk could beat, or maybe a guy who is short on experience that a commission would actually approve a fight against. Some of the names, Lance Benoist 7-2, Michael Graves is 6-0-1, Alvaro Herrera, I should say, is 9-4, Vernon Ramos 3-1, Anton Zaffa, the Australian kid. But I mean, when CM Punk signed with the UFC in 2014, I remember thinking, maybe they give him one of the lesser-known welterweights on the roster. I think at the time I thought he was going to be at 85, so I mentioned like a Roger Narvaez type. But when you spin this thing forward, Kenny, for CM Punk, I just don't know how you keep him around at 0-1.
I have to agree with you. There's no one out there. The reality is there is no one out there in the UFC currently, in the welterweight division, that he can beat, in my opinion. And now I feel like I'm being harsh on the guy, but it's so tough because I think that CM Punk is such a great dude. He's such a good dude. He came off so well off of this series on FS1 that they were showing, and he's. I think he's aware of that, and I think that's why he said he'd be surprised. He wouldn't be surprised if the UFC let him go. If he wants to continue fighting, why not allow him to fight on some of the smaller shows? Give him, a couple RFA fights. Give him some, regional MMA fights to build up his record, to get experience like other fighters do. If he is genuinely serious about it, and then you bring him back into the UFC. And maybe he is good enough in the next year or two to get fights under his belt, to build up his record and go, okay, now I'm ready. Even mentally approaching the fight, getting in and trying to understand, what am I going to do to start off this fight? He just ran straight at Mickey Gall. It didn't seem like he had any real plan. He was just going to go get right in his face. And just like it was like his first mixed martial arts fight, he was completely surprised by the kind of pressure that Mickey Gall put on him. I don't think he was ready for that. The intensity, the fact that he was going to level change and put him on his ass, he just looked very unprepared.